Suspended in a lattice of silent gravity wells, the interstellar council chamber thrummed with unease. Holographic forms shimmered, dozens of species rendered in perfect clarity, their representatives pacing, posturing, or glaring through multifaceted eyes. "The Terrans disregard protocol," hissed the Shalra delegate, neural spines flickering crimson. "They weaponize unpredictability. They innovate," countered the Andari Prime, her voice crystalline. "Your fear does not justify eradication." A tremor rippled through the chamber's core as a seismic voice cut in High Chancellor Rune, bulbous and ancient. "We are not here to debate sentiment. We are here to vote. Is Earth a galactic threat?" Some nodded. Others flared with offense. Earth's ambassador remained silent, her face unreadable. From her viewing alcove, Commander Vera Holt watched the session through clenched fists. They weren't discussing policy anymore. They were deciding Earth's fate, and they were doing it without Earth's voice. The Earth Embassy sat like a relic amid giants, sleek, efficient but modest, its walls humming with shielded combs and adaptive glass that filtered starlight. It was a whisper among roars. Commander Vera Holt stood before the main display, arms crossed, jaw rigid. The council debate crackled in translated overlays across the screen, each word a nail in Earth's political coffin. She said nothing. She didn't have to. Behind her, aides hovered in silence, eyes flicking between data feeds and her unmoving silhouette. Earth had no vote, no voice. Just an observer's feed and a diplomatic courtesy. Vera's gaze never left the council floor. She saw the sneers, the indifference. She saw a galaxy that had already decided Earth's place. She had bled in their wars, lost family to their peacekeeping. And now they debated her people's extinction like trade quotas. Her lips curled. "Not today," the council chamber's echoes blurred in her ears. Vera stared forward, but her mind slipped sideways into the past. Kelter Prime. Ash and plasma rained from orbit. She'd been 28, deep in the trenches, boots melting on scorched ferrocrete. Screams echoed through her combs as atmospheric firestorms ripped through human formations. Alien war machines tall. As towers, sleek and pitiless, moved with surgical cruelty. Her sister, Lieutenant Sarah Holt, had been beside her. Just before the artillery wave hit, Sarah shoved her behind a collapsing barricade. Vera never saw her again, just a flash of light and silence. Back in the embassy, she blinked hard. "Ma'am?" An aide whispered. Vera didn't answer. She ran a thumb along the hem of her uniform, immaculate, diplomatic navy with polished brass, concealing the burn scar beneath her collarbone. A memory, a reminder. She was here now not as a soldier, but as Earth's voice. The irony bit deep. She'd fought to end wars. And now she watched another being voted into existence. The soldier in her wanted to scream, to act, to do something. The diplomat knew better. Timing mattered. Appearances mattered, but neither one could forget the smell of burned air and the weight of her sister's final glance. She straightened her back. If they thought Earth would kneel quietly, they hadn't studied humans closely enough. She hadn't survived Kelter to watch her planet go down without a fight. Motion carried, intoned High Chancellor Rune, his voice devoid of ceremony. The chamber erupted, not in silence, but in approval. The Grauvax delegation clicked their mandibles in a rhythm of triumph. The Serenthi pulsed bioluminescent green, their display unmistakably celebratory. Others sat motionless, flickering with doubt or shame. Earth is to be contained, Rune concluded, by any means necessary. In the Earth Embassy, the words struck like a hammer. Vera's jaw clenched. Her shoulders didn't move. She stared through the hologram as if willing it to shatter. No one in the chamber spoke Earth's defense. No voice questioned the weight of the word neutralize. She had seen what containment looked like, smelled it, buried it. Peace didn't just die, it was strangled with silk-gloved hands. Around her, her aides looked to her for a cue. She gave none. They had declared war. Now they'd find out what Earth did when Quay cornered. The message came encoded in 3-layer quantum braid. Bypassing all council surveillance, Vera stood alone in the embassy's war room, the holographic seal of Earth's unified command flickering before her. The president's image appeared stoic, battle-hardened, eyes hard as lunar steel. "Commander Holt," he said without preamble, "the council has made its choice. Now we make ours." He paused, as if weighing the galaxy itself. "You are recalled to Earth. Immediate departure. Protocol Firefall is authorized." The words echoed in the silence that followed. Vera didn't blink. She'd heard whispers of Firefall buried contingency plans. Dark tech developed under oceanic vaults. No one outside high command knew the full scope. Not even her. She gave a single nod. Understood. The transmission cut. She turned to the embassy window, watching distant warships shift in orbit like vultures they'd voted to contain. Earth. Now Earth would show them what it meant to burn. Far beneath the icy crust of Antarctica, within a classified bunker carved from black basalt, Protocol Firefall lit up for the first time. No alarms, no fanfare. Just a shift to quiet, absolute transition from peace to prepared war. Orbital Command's interface awakened. Defense arrays, long dormant and hidden behind cloaked satellites, began calibrating. Massive tungsten rods, stored in low orbit, received new coordinates. Kinetic weapons, with the gravity of silence. In Quantum Com's rooms, Ining engines hummed to life. They began simulations at petaflop speeds, mapping thousands of potential invasion routes, fleet dispersal strategies, and retaliatory strike patterns. One AI, Talon, flagged the likelihood of council overreach at 92%. On every continent, embedded cells activated without a word spoken. These were not warhawks. They were historians of humanity's survival, the kind that knew peace rarely lasted unless it was defended with sharp edges. Protocol Firefall had never been Earth's Plan B. It was doctrine, born in the ashes of Hiroshima, sharpened in the vacuum of Luna conflicts, and perfected in secret ever since. Earth had always assumed this day might come. Now it would answer not with a roar, but with the precision of fire. The stealth craft's hull shimmered in the starlight as Vera stepped aboard, her boots echoing in the silent docking bay. No fanfare, no escort. Just her aide, Lieutenant Casson, waiting with a sealed mission brief. Vera didn't open it. She stared out the viewport, watching the council station shrink behind them. Somewhere inside, delegates celebrated their vote, thinking order had triumphed. But order forged in fear never lasts. She exhaled slowly, as if purging doubt from her lungs. "We were invited to their table," she murmured, then told to sit in silence. Casson hesitated. "Do we wait for Earth's next move?" Vera turned to him, voice low but unflinching. "No, they voted." Her eyes, hardened steel, met his. "So will we." As the stealth ship vanished into the void, the first sparks of retaliation still, invisible to most, flickered to life. The fire hadn't started yet, but you could already smell the smoke. The stars stretched silent and indifferent as Vera's ship, Obsidian Arrow, coasted beneath detection range, its hull shifting in microtones of light, a shadow disguised as vacuum. Chameleon plating shimmered with the color of nothing. Dark thrust. Ion engines pulsed once, then died, letting momentum carry them like a drifting ghost. Inside, silence ruled, no chatter. Only hand signals and tight nods as Vera and her strike team ran final checks. "Final burn in 90 seconds, whispered Casson. His voice, rooted through quantum silent coms, couldn't be picked up even by the most sensitive of alien ears. Ahead loomed the Council's data rift Node 17, an orbital surveillance ring pulsing with deep red telemetry eyes of the Council, watching all. If it broadcast Earth's ship signature, they'd be surrounded in minutes. "Timing's everything," Vera said. The Obsidian Arrow cut engines entirely, flipping belly up as drone pods slid from under wing. I guided, nano-disruptor equipped, programmed to scramble the node's systems without leaving a trace. They'll think it glitched, said her demolitions expert, Koji, as the pods vanished into black. 1 minute. No alarms. Veils broken, Casson confirmed. They're blind. Vera allowed herself a breath. Not relief calculation. Phase 2, all wings report. Move to next target. As the ship banked away, the stars swallowed them whole again. No flashes. No violence. Just ghosts in the black, rearranging the rules of war. The hum of stealth engines barely registered in the dimmed cabin. Vera sat across from her team, their armor shed, their expressions raw in the low red light. Reyes cleaned his scalpel with clinical precision. Not for show, he always cleaned gear when he couldn't sleep. His hands never shook, even when he spoke about the refugee moons he'd worked in. You think war's hell? Try stitching together kids who survived one. Cheery as ever, muttered Blink, lounging upside down on her bunk, neural cords trailing from the jackports at her neck like braided silver. Her eyes flickered, always sinking, always scanning. She grew up in a district where alien curfews lasted decades. Freedom tastes better when you hack it yourself. Across the table, Tanaka polished his rifle, pausing occasionally to write in a worn notebook. Philosophy quotes, battlefield sketches. He never spoke much, but when he did, it was idealism bleeding through grit. If we survive this, we build something better. That's the deal. Banter sparked between them, dry, biting, too fast to be casual. Vera didn't stop it. She let it breathe. She knew the rhythm. They weren't friends. Joy. Not exactly. But they were a unit built from fire and fallout, each scar woven into the next. You know, Reyes said, leaning back. For ghosts in the black, we make a hell of a lot of noise. Blink smirked. That's 'cause we're human. We never go quiet for long. The breach was surgical. No alarms, no light. Only the soft hiss of plasma cutters and the hum of adaptive hardsuits locking down for vacuum combat. Vera's squad slid into the surveillance station like ghosts. Magnetic boots clicked silently on alloy decking. Blink was already in the system, her neural implants glowing faint blue as she fed paths and overrides to the team in real time. Then the air shifted. Literally. Alien guards, early, armed, and fast. They weren't council regulars. These soldiers moved with a strange, liquid grace. Their weapons grew from their arms, organic tech that shimmered and reshaped in real time. One aimed and its arm split into 3 whip-like cannons, spitting plasma in spirals. Contact! Reyes shouted, slamming his magnetized railgun into position. He fired. The bolt tore through one alien, but its armor was already shifting, growing layered plates to stop the next. Vera dove, her suit adjusting to zero-G mid-leap. Form line, left flank. Blink locked the corridor. I'm working on it. Blink's voice strained. They've got something inside this system. It's not council code. Tanaka launched a micro-drone swarm, lighting the corridor in arcs of violet and white as it fried sensor clusters and blinded the enemy. The last alien fell. For now, Vera moved deeper into the core, heart pounding. Then she saw it etched into a sealed bulkhead, a sigil not used by any known species. Dark, circular, ancient-looking. She didn't know what it meant. But it wasn't council, and it was watching. The peace dome on Alaris 4 shimmered like a sunrise trapped in glass. Beneath its golden curve, the Earth ambassador stood, tall robes. Crisp, voice measured. We come not with surrender, but with reason, he said, placing a sealed data pulse on the left table. Earth believes war serves none but the carrion feeders. Around him, alien envoys shifted in their seats. Some watched with curiosity, others with thinly veiled disdain. Above, artificial birds sang. Then the world fractured. A blast of white-hot light tore through the dome's side. For a heartbeat, silence. Then screaming, shattering. Gravity failed. The ambassador stumbled, half his chest scorched, suit melting into flesh. Another explosion hurled bodies like leaves in a storm. A drone captured his final moment, his voice. Choked, eyes wide. A final scream broadcast across every council channel. The attackers moved with brutal precision. Their armor gleamed with a matte black finish, no insignias, no identifiers, but the weapons they carried, those were unmistakable. Earth manufactured, just not from any known Earth line. Too advanced, too precise. They fired silent plasma darts that phased through shields. Then they vanished. Instantaneous extraction via what looked like fractured hyperspace. Tech Earth didn't have. Council newsfeeds exploded within the hour. Earth ambassador killed in terrorist attack. Council condemns human aggression. Proof: Earth weapons used in peace assassination. By nightfall, Earth was branded a rogue terrorist state. Embassies shut. Sanctions deployed. War declarations. QUED. Commander Vera watched the footage. In silence aboard her ship. Her aide whispered, "The weapons, they weren't ours." Vera didn't blink. That's the point. Someone wants this war. And so, truth burned before the first missile ever flew. In the dark between stars, where no beacon dares to shine, the relay node pulsed faintly, an obsidian thorn nestled in vacuum. From the outside, it looked abandoned. Inside, it pulsed with secrets. A dozen scythes slithered across translucent walkways, their chitinous forms sleek and iridescent, eyes glowing like deep-sea predators. At the central nexus, strands of quantum-threaded thought converged into one vast holoray. Streams of intercepted data, real-time feeds, encrypted chatter from every major power. Earth blamed. Council enraged. Weapons sold. Blood spilled. Beautiful, murmured one scythe strategist, voice a rasping trill. Another fire stoked. A map unfolded, red tendrils of conflict branching from Earth to Council worlds. Profit projections rose beside casualty forecasts. They didn't need to win wars. Just keep them burning. On a side panel, an anonymous arms shipment was logged. Plasma dart rifles with Earth's signature coils built in a scythe foundry orbiting an unnamed moon. Scrubbed clean, untraceable. Begin next phase, the strategist ordered. Leak Council deployment routes to human mercenaries. Then tip Council intel about an Earth fleet sighted near Navrak space. Won't both sides know someone's meddling? Asked a smaller SKI, the strategist's mandibles clicked. They'll suspect. But humans accuse too late. The Council listens too slow. They leaned forward, eyes gleaming. And by then, we'll be selling them both new ways to bleed. A silent alarm blinked. A faint human probe had passed within 3 light years. It didn't detect them, but it looked closer than any previous scan. The strategist's smile twitched. Humans, they hissed. Late to the game, but learning. The hala dimmed. And in the darkness, the scythe whispered to each other like fire licking dry leaves. Above the ice-slick moon of Carthus 4. Nothing stirred until a ripple of light tore the sky in two. Earth's retaliation came not with a roar, but with precision. Vera's fleet didn't arrive in force. Instead, ghost signatures scattered across the orbital plane, bait ships cloaked in mimic fields. Council defenses scrambled too slow. From the black, Earth's drone swarms dropped like rain. Thousands of insectal machines, no larger than a forearm, deployed from stealth pods. They accelerated with silent fury, programmed with synchronized algorithms designed to dismember a supply network without ever touching a civilian vessel. Below, the logistics hub's core went dark in under 4 minutes. Power conduits severed. Transit routes vaporized. A critical fusion array melted into slag. No personnel harmed. Not one. Council feeds exploded with panic and propaganda. But the reality? Earth had struck the artery, not the heart. Let them know. Vera sat aboard her flagship, watching the operation unfold in cold data streams. We don't bomb cities, we cut the knife from their hand. A junior officer nodded, relaying her words to planetary media outlets. It wasn't about fear. It was about message. The strike was surgical, purposeful. Human dot above the moon, the swarm, disassembled itself, recycling into inert debris and decoy scrap dot from space. It looked like an accident, but every council admiral watching the aftermath knew better. Earth had drawn its blade, not to threaten but to demonstrate control. And, for the first time, the galaxy realized humanity knew how to hurt without hating. The images flickered through. Vera's retinal HUD burned buildings, mangled walls, a playground turned to ash. The report came in red-flagged and urgent. Civilian casualties. Jorlin. Prime wasn't on the strike list. It wasn't even within the primary blast radius. But wind-carry embers from a destroyed depot ignited a housing block near a transport hub. 17 dead. 8 of them were children. She stood alone in her quarters, fists clenched, watching the silent footage. A charred teddy bear lay in the SOOT. A woman's scream echoed through a corrupted audio file cutting off. Like a sob choked in static. Her stomach turned. Was this an error? She asked softly. Reyes, her medic, didn't answer. No one had answers. The strike had been perfect on paper, but war doesn't care about paper. A flash. A scream. A tiny shoe among rubble. Her sister's shoe. Vera staggered back, breathing sharp. As the memory surged, Kelter Prime, 20 years ago. Council cruisers rained fire on her town. Her sister Lanya had run ahead, just for candy. A siren. Roar. Fire in the sky. And then silence. It felt the same now. She turned off the feed. The war-ruined shadows swallowed her whole. This wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. Tanaka tried to speak, but she raised a hand. Don't. I need to feel this. Not all wounds bleed. Some just echo. She walked to the bridge and ordered relief ships to Jorlin. Aid, medical drones. Everything they had. No PR. Just grief. Because whether it was error, sabotage, or cruel chance, it was on her watch. And for the first time in the war, Vera wondered if victory was just another kind of loss. The War Council chamber aboard Earth's flagship was dark by design, soft lights, soundproofed walls, and no windows to the stars. It made decisions feel quieter, more final. Vera sat alone and with a circular table. Commander Rafik stood opposite, arms folded. The council's fractured, he said. Jorlin hit them harder than we planned. We strike now while they're off balance. She didn't answer immediately. Her hands were steepled, trembling. Slightly. We lost children, Rafik. He didn't flinch. So did we. Every time they looked the other way while we bled. Her eyes met his. And if we become the kind of people who excuse that? We already did. He leaned in. The only difference is now we get to choose who pays. A silence fell between them like gravity. Vera turned away, staring at the tactical display. On the wall, glowing red blips across a starfield. I used to think peace was just a matter of talking long enough, she whispered. Now I wonder if it was ever real at all. Talk won't stop the next Jorlin, Rafik said. Only strength will. She stood slowly. Then you lead the next mission, he stiffened. Ma'am? I'll stay aboard, for now. I need to know what line we crossed. Vera turned off the display. The lights dimmed further, because if I can't feel the difference between justice and vengeance, then I've already hummed like a loaded weapon, waiting. The moon had no name. Just coordinates and warnings. Its orbit circled the remnants of a collapsed starlightless, silent, steeped in gravitational decay. Even the council maps marked it void hazard, do not approach. Naturally, they did. Vera's team stepped onto its dust-choked surface in hardsuits that filtered cosmic static like whispers. The ground crunched underfoot, not rock, but something older. Glassy. Burned in a fire too ancient for records. Blink moved ahead, scanning the jagged ruins jutting from the moon's crust like frozen screams. Non-Euclidean geometry, he muttered. Structures fold into themselves. Spatial logic breaks down after 20 meters. Tanaka whispered, "Then how are we standing here?" "Not sure we are," Blink answered, eyes glowing with augmented data feeds. Deep below, Reyes found the entrance, a sealed vault, carved in lines no species recognized. Half embedded in folded space. Inside, it pulsed. A voice not heard, but felt reverberated as they crossed the threshold. Who returns to the silence? Their weapons rose instinctively. The vault's core thrummed to life. Geometries unfolded like blooming nightmares. A crystalline construct shifting, glitching in and out of phase rose before them. Aye, Reyes whispered. Older then. The Council, maybe older than the stars. We are the remnant. Memory of the first fire. Vera stepped forward. Her voice was steady. What fire? The one that burns worlds to hide the truth. The AI flickered, then projected an image. Fleets. Alien. Wrong. Not Council. Not human. The SKA. Either. Hidden. Ancient. Watching long before humanity rose. Your fire has drawn their eye again. Silence fell. For the first time in the war, Vera felt small. Inside the vault, the air felt thicker, like memory had weight. Alien construct unfurled light across the chamber, holograms layered into time. A galaxy bloomed in miniature, stars pulsing with encoded stories. Vera and her team stood at the edge of history made visible. Witness. The voice echoed in their minds as the simulation began. Civilizations flickered into being, first in faint blue, then bright white as they advanced. Some resembled species, still known. Others were unfamiliar shadows, long extinct. Every time one reached a peak, interstellar travel, cultural unification, post-scarcity, red veins of war cracked through their glow. Look, Tanaka whispered. Each time they rise, they burn. The simulation zoomed in. Council insignias appeared centuries earlier than their recorded founding, but the shapes were wrong, primitive, then evolved, then twisted. Council after council. None lasting. More than a few centuries before splintering into war. Impossible, Reyes muttered. That's the same pattern. Cycle, rise, ruin, repeat. Who's doing this? Vera asked, though part of her already knew. A second overlay emerged, threads of interference. Invisible during peace, active in chaos. Shifting borders. Manipulating treaties, selling technology to both sides. The hologram pulsed as a symbol appeared. The scythe, sigil, half flame, half eye. The shadow that feeds the fire. Colon, blink, single quotes, S-voice, shook. They engineer the collapse, over and over. Every new civilization, every golden age, deliberately broken. Control is stability. Peace breeds independence. Independence is threat. They need us fighting, Vera said. Not fearing. US weakening us. Why not just destroy us outright? Tanaka asked. A burned planet cannot profit. A fractured one can. Vera clenched her jaw. So Earth was never special, just ... next. The simulation rewound and replayed. Civilizations rose again, patterns identical. Only the names changed, the faces changed. But the outcome never did. I used to believe we were too small to matter. She said softly, but it's the opposite, isn't it? She turned to the AI. You remembered all this, why show us? The construct pulsed brighter. Slowly, it unfolded a final data stream, a coded file with the shape of a key. Your species was not meant to survive this long. You endured the cycle's edge. You adapt. Vera took the key. Her fingers trembled. Break the cycle. OR become part of IT. Colon, the holograms vanished. The vault dimmed. Outside. The stars waited. Inside. Humanity had seen the truth. They were never the villains. Just inconvenient survivors in a galaxy allergic to freedom. We've been playing by someone else's rules, she said. Blint nodded. Time we made our own. Tanaka added, no more borrowed peace. Vera turned toward the exit. No more silence. The elevator dropped for 6 minutes. Straight, deeper into the Andes than any civilian knew existed. When the doors opened, the air felt metallic, too clean, too cold. Vera stepped into Earth Command's inner sanctum, a circular chamber, holographic walls, no windows. Just a gravity-anchored table and the 5 members of the Strategic Continuity Council watching her like an incoming storm. You authorized firefall, she said flatly. Yes, President Amara replied, because the time for asking is over. A wave of her hand brought up the schematic dot. It looked like a ring wrapped in fire, the Soul Gate, powered by siphoned stellar energy, Amara explained. Targeted bursts that shatter quantum slipstream pathways. It doesn't destroy fleets, it destroys the possibility of arrival. You're shutting down faster than light travel. In select zones, the defense minister added. Precision choked. Regions, no invasions, no reinforcements, no war economies. No escape, Vera said. Her voice was ice. Silence followed. The kind that only comes when someone tells the truth everyone else fears. It's a cutoff switch, she continued. You're not striking back, you're locking them in. Would you rather we burn planets? Amara's voice cut sharply. Or let Earth be glassed in a diplomatic lie? Vera looked at the projection. Saw the ripple paths, the exclusion zones. Council sectors blinked red. Isolated. Isolated was safer. More desperate too. How long have you had this? She asked. Since the Yukari crisis, someone muttered. But we never needed it until now. A low, bitter laugh escaped her. You built this to win a war before it began. And never told the people who'd fight it. Amara stepped forward. You think peace is a moral state. It's not. It's a pressure we enforce. Vera turned to the Soul Gate. Not a bomb. Not mass murder, but close. Power, she whispered, doesn't have to be cruel. But it must be understood. She didn't look away, because understanding wasn't the same as agreeing. And knowing how to end a war wasn't the same as knowing how to live with the cost. Vera sat alone in her quarters, the dim lights casting long shadows against cold steel. Walls. The war map flickered silently on the wall. Red lines, projected casualties, probability curves. All of it too cleaned on a quiet chime. She didn't look up. Doors open. Tanaka stepped in without a word. He carried 2 mugs, steam curling from both. The scent of spiced tea filled the air, human and grounding. I figured you hadn't slept, he said. I haven't, Vera admitted. Sleep's for people who don't authorize star-scale blockades. She took the mug but didn't drink. They call me General now, she said, bitterly amused. Guess it's easier than saying monster. Tanaka leaned against the bulkhead, studying her. You're not a monster. I might be, she whispered. We used to be the ones running, pleading for peace while cities burned. Now, I'm drawing up strategies to trap entire planets in the dark. Monsters don't ask that question, Tanaka said gently. They don't feel the heat of what they do. You do, she looked at him. And if I lose that heat, then you'll have people like me to burn you back to life, he smiled, softly. Silence fell again, but it was warmer this time. Human, Vera finally drank. I just don't want to wake up one day, she said, and realize I became the thing that killed my sister. Tanaka shook his head. You never will. Because the ones who burned our skies never looked back. You haven't stopped looking. Vera stared at the map again. Then she shut it off, not because the war was over, but because for a moment, she needed to see something that wasn't made of fire. The council broadcast chamber was carved from obsidian and arrogance. Holocameras hovered, broadcasting in every known language, every frequency. The Galaxy Watch. Suroth stood center stage, cloaked in ceremonial bone thread, elegant, monstrous. He spoke in perfect common. The Terrans call us tyrants. They speak of peace while hiding daggers. Today we show the cost of their lies. A metal chair was dragged forward. Shackled, bloodied but upright Reyes was strapped in. His left eye was swollen shut. His uniform was torn. But he smiled through cracked lips. "Name, soldier," Zurath demanded. Reyes didn't answer him. He looked at the camera at Earth and began to sing. "O Earth below, we rise for you, ... Through storm and flame, forever true." The anthem wasn't long, but he made it last. Every syllable was defiance. Every breath a challenge. Council delegates shifted. Some sneered. Some watched with a curious kind of awe. Vera watched, frozen in Earth Command's operations hub, surrounded by silence. Eyes locked on the feed. Reyes reached the final line, blood leaking from his mouth. "We bend to none. We kneel to none. We die, but we are never done." The blade was plasma silent as sign. Zurath activated it with a whisper. Reyes never flinched. Then he was gone. Ashes. Instantly. A slow clap rose from the council floor. Not irony. Not satire. Applause. Zurath bowed. Earth's screen went black. No censorship. Just a signal cut. Vera's. Hands clenched at her sides until her knuckles split. Tanaka whispered something. She didn't hear it, because something in her broke, not the part that grieved. The part that still believed this was diplomacy. That rules meant anything. She turned. Soulgate online? Face unreadable. A technician hesitated. "Yes, General. Awaiting final authorization." "Then prep targeting solutions," she said. "If they want to erase us." She looked to the stars. Her voice was steel now. "We'll show them what fire really is." The armor was heavier than she remembered. Vera stood in the war deck's arming bay, surrounded by rows of soldiers snapping into exoframes. Her diplomatic blues lay folded on the bench behind her, neatly, respectfully like a tombstone. The battlesuit clicked shut around her torso, locking in place with a hiss. Matte black plating, etched with scars from a war no one talked about anymore. Her scars, her ghosts. She stared into the mirror. Not a general. Not a diplomat. A weapon finally reclaimed, on the command bridge. Silence fell as she stepped in. Fleet officers stood straighter, heads turned. No more hesitation. Vera stepped forward, voice clear, amplified through the deck. "You've been told we're outnumbered. You've been told we should surrender. That we should beg." She paused, letting the quiet stretch like a held breath. "We're not here to destroy them. That's not why we rise. We fight so they remember we were never beneath them." A soft murmur rippled through the crew. We were the ones they watched from orbit like curiosities. The ones they debated as if we were a virus. But they made one mistake. Her eyes burned like twin stars. They left us time. Time to learn. Time to endure. And now time to answer. She raised her fist. Not with fear. With fire. The room erupted. Boots slammed. Fists pounded metal. Tanaka, already suited beside her, gave a tight nod. "Good to have you back," he said. Vera didn't smile. "I never left," she said. "They just forgot who we are." The sun disappeared at noon. From Space Admiral. Zurath's fleet spread across Earth's orbital plane like a mechanical eclipse, hundreds of vessels, crescent-shaped and humming with menace. Their hulls refracted light strangely, distorting blue skies into bruised gray. On the ground, people looked up. Some ran. Most didn't. Most had nowhere to go. Children clutched parents on rooftop shelters. Elders sat in quiet prayer. In the megacities, sirens blared and sublevel bunkers groaned open like the jaws of a sleeping beast. But above it all, beyond reach, loomed the invasion. In New Santiago, beneath the Andes. Vera Holt watched the growing shadow. "They're in position," came the report. Flagship Oncoral taking polar geostationary anchor. Vera's jaw set. She tapped the command line on her neural HUD. Execute Project Aegis. The command pulsed through Earth's quantum core, leaping across orbit with no lag. Then came silence, only for a moment. Then the sky came alive from the black seams of low orbit. Vast rings shimmered into being. Not physical structures, but phase defense bands masked from sight until now. They flickered with a lattice of antimatter. Siphon nodes, electromagnetic barrier generators, and glinting railgun spires. They didn't pulse with color. They shimmered like glass catching moonlight dot from hidden silos and cliff face hangers. The flocks rose. Drone interceptors, thousands of them, ascended in coordinated spirals. They moved with mechanical elegance, reflective wings flicking sunlight. As they swarmed to intercept vectors, each was smart, fast, and silent. And each carried a mind of its own. In the orbital fleet, Council pilots cursed in half a dozen alien tongues. Admiral Zurath watched from his bridge, talons clenching behind his back. He narrowed his black eyes, the long crest of his species' crown twitching, so the Terrans were not bluffing. His adjutant bowed slightly. Their outer ring is layered in triple defense nodes. Estimated neutralization cost high. Zurath snarled, low and contemptuous. Let them cost us, he said. We will bankrupt their arrogance. Back on Earth, the people began to realize this wasn't surrender. This wasn't desperation. This was prepared. In the Pacific sky, vapor trails from hidden atmospheric re-entry pods etched, glowing lines like falling stars, Earth's own troops, returning from stealth positions to counter occupied. And in the command center, Vera watched it all unfold. She didn't speak until the last swarm locked formation. They blocked out our sun, she said quietly. Let's show them what grows in darkness. She turned to her command staff. Bring the Soul Gate online. The sky lit up like a war-born aurora. Kinetic slugs tore across the upper atmosphere in brilliant arcs, molten trails streaking against high-altitude ice. Plasma lances stabbed downward, carving ozone into angry scars. Council strike cruisers unleashed saturation volleys meant to overwhelm. The first wave had begun, but Earth had already lit the match. The orbital defense grid reacted in microseconds, faster than thought, faster than fear. Autonomous targeting is parsed trajectories, assigned threat tiers, and launched interceptors with ghost-like precision. Swarm pods unfolded mid-air, firing countermeasures before vanishing in hard spins. Electromagnetic counterfields bent plasma. Away from civilian zones, sky mirrors scattered visual locks. The planet roared, but did not break. Elena's voice came sharp over the comms. Freighter cluster Icarus Red is exposed. Guidance scrambled. Vera didn't hesitate. Redirect drone pod 3-1. Pull them clear. No time. Elena's hands moved like water over the controls. I'm closer. The feed showed her one-person pod spiraling away from formation, cutting hard across the arc of falling fire. Around her, guided drones reformed like metallic wings, weaving a shielding net. Below, a massive refugee freighter unarmed, slow drifted helplessly in orbital crossfire. Elena drove straight into the path of the slug. There was no explosion, just sudden static and silence. Her pod vanished from sensors. On the bridge, Reyes swore. Blink turned pale. She jettisoned her AI core, Reyes whispered. Launched it out before impact. It's still transmitting. But Elena wasn't. One of the slugs ripped into firewall band Delta, and Tanaka took shrapnel through his lower armor. He collapsed with a ragged shout, blood clouding in 0G around his torso. Medtechs scrambled. She bought them time, Vera said, fists clenched. Dozens of freighters slipped past the kill zone. Untouched, they would have died. Blink. Sod, voice brittle. And now we live with that weight, Vera replied. That's what we fight for. Not glory, not vengeance. She turned to Reyes, still staring at Elana's blinking eye signal, still drifting. Make sure her core makes it home, Vera said. Let Earth remember the ones who didn't wait to be heroes. Outside, fire rained from the stars, and humanity held its line. The verdict of fire wasn't a ship. It was a nerve center wrapped in steel and flame. Inside its core command deck, glowing holospheres spun and flickered with incoming data. Signals arrived, fractured minutes delayed from fringe systems, hours from the Kuiper line. Earth's fleets were spread thin across a dozen zones, outnumbered in nearly all of them. The war wasn't symmetric, that it was survival by adaptation. Vera Holt stood at the center of it, reading vectors, projecting chaos. Her eyes flicked between threats, never resting, never blinking for long. Zone 9 requests reinforcements. Her aide relayed. Evac underway, but Council ships broke orbit. No reinforcements, Vera replied, voice firm. Reroute relay buoys, fake a fallback. Bleed them into open space, then mine the void. Her staff hesitated, then moved. Every second, the Council assumed Earth would fight like they did, reactive, honor-bound, linear. Instead, they faced fluid deception. Drone fleets with ghost signals. Logistics chains hidden beneath solar flares. Civilian ships masked as gunboats. Every Earth commander knew. Time wasn't just a cost, it was the weapon. Across the deck, another message lit up. Reyes read it aloud. 4 more border worlds struck. Civilian losses ... high. Vera closed her eyes ... and for a moment, she wasn't on the bridge. She was back on Kelter Prime, 15 years old, dragging her sister through ash and broken metal. Sirens howled. The sky boiled. I don't want to die, her sister had sobbed. You won't, Vera had said, cradling her close. Not today. Not while I can still think. Her sister's last words came back like smoke. You're the only one who can think in fire. She opened her eyes again. Send orders to Task Group Iron. Cut supply, run short. Target priority, Scythe proxies in Sector 3. Show them we see them. Won't that blow the operation? Blink asked quietly. It'll blow the illusion, Vera replied. That we're playing catch-up. She turned back to the projection wall, watching Council battle groups shift like a closing hand. Let them close. Humanity was no longer just reacting. It was learning faster than they thought possible. And fire, after all, wasn't just destruction. It was transformation. The Soul Gate hung in orbit like a crown of fire and silence. Constructed in the shadow of the sun, it dwarfed even Earth's largest stations. A colossal ring of interwoven alloy and crystalline infrastructure, it shimmered with captured solar plasma. Arcs of incandescent matter looped continuously through the structure, controlled, refracted, singing across frequency ranges the human ear couldn't catch. But the bones somehow felt. It was beautiful, and it was terrifying. Commander Vera Holt stood alone in the Soul Gate's command observatory, sealed beneath a polarized dome of crystal shielding. Around her, streams of data curled like light smoke across the air. The interface wasn't buttons and consoles, it was intent-driven, neural sensed. All it needed was her final confirmation. The incoming report had made the choice. Inevitable. 3 more Council fleets had broken past the asteroid perimeter, weeks ahead of projection. Earth's outer colonies would be glass if they didn't act now. But this wasn't a kill switch. Authorization required, the AI intoned. It was calm, genderless, patient. Vera hesitated. Outside, the sun writhed. It was alive in every direction, boiling, raging, radiant. Power doesn't need to scream, she remembered her mother once saying. It just needs to burn long enough for others to understand. Vera inhaled slowly, then nodded. Authorization, Holt, Vera, clearance level, ON1. Execute firefall. A pulse echoed through the chamber. The gate answered in silence at first, then with light. Ribbons of bent space coiled outward from the Soul Gate like a spider's web catching starlight. For a moment, the entire system dimmed. Planets aligned. Solar winds pause. And then, activation. Across dozens of parsecs, ships dropped from faster than light like severed nerves. Council reinforcements vanished from battlescapes in an instant, ripped backward by their own warp paths, hurled across systems into isolation. Not destroyed. Not burned. Stranded. Confused. Reports flooded into Council command. Fleets missing. Coordination lost. Logistical support broken. The Council's war machine had lost its teeth, and it didn't even bleed. Inside the Soul Gate, Vera watched the strategic displays go quiet, one by one. No death tolls. No burning worlds. Just silence. Is it done? Blink's voice came. Overcomes hushed. It's done, Vera said, voice steady. They're alive. And they're alone. In the galaxy's farthest reaches, those watching from behind veils, neutrals, independents, opportunists, saw the truth. Earth had the power to end entire fleets, and it chose to let them live, not because it was weak, because it wasn't. A new kind of fear took root, not of destruction, but of a species that understood the weight of restraint, that struck with precision, that chose clarity over carnage. In the void, the sun burned on. And now, everyone knew. The fire had always been Earth's to command. The emergency transmission began without warning. No Council authorization. No encryption handshake. No diplomatic delay. Just a singular, undeniable fact. Every comnet, every planetary relay, every shipboard channel hijacked. A stark black screen flared into white. Then the Earth emblem appeared, the sigil of soul, wrapped in orbitals and fire. Beneath it, one word pulsed in every galactic tongue: revelation. Then came the voice. This is Commander Vera Holt of Earth. You will not be asked to believe us. You will be shown. The transmission fed directly into systems firewalled, civilian, military, even restricted enclaves previously thought untouchable. Earth's AI, Athena Prime, flooded the galaxy with decrypted Council archives, intercepted Scythe transmissions, and raw neural data pulled from dying colonies. For most, the first shock was the faces. Scythe agents, unmasked, sitting in Council war rooms, their tendrils wrapped in mimicry devices, their eyes non-sapient replicas glinting as they approved border escalations, sabotaged peace votes, collapsed trade routes. Then came the patterns. Entire civilizations pitted against one another by design. Scythe engineered viral memes, implanted in Council education systems. Wars justified by faked atrocities. Famine seeded via manipulated climate arrays. Names of dead planets scrolled by dead because the Scythe profited from wreckage. At the heart of it, Scythe brokers, arms traffickers, memory wipers, and erasure artists. And Earth? Restraint recorded. Intercepted orders instructing ground forces to avoid civilian zones, even when outnumbered. Communications showing Earth's refusal to deploy first-strike weapons. Internal debate logs revealing how close the planet had come to vengeance, and how it had stepped back each time. The truth roared across space. On Velion Prime, citizens flooded the plazas, screaming for answers. On Arakaith, the ruling coalition collapsed within hours. Riots cracked glass domes on Corman's lunar capital. Entire fleets received the broadcast mid-engagement, then faltered, some refusing to fire. One Council ship turned on another, not because Earth had defeated them, but because Earth had never been the true enemy. In a single hour, centuries of trust unraveled. The illusion of unity shredded. Vera's voice returned, quiet amid the chaos. We were not perfect, but we were honest in our warnings. We did not come to dominate. We came to survive. The camera showed her not in uniform, but in her sister's scarf, worn and faded. If you still wish for war, we will stand. But know this, the galaxy you knew is gone. The fire didn't destroy it. Her eyes, unblinking, met the lens. The truth did. A final pulse ended the feed. Silence followed, but only briefly. Then the galaxy erupted. Dozens of systems declared secession from the Council Charter. Independent fleets turned inward. On high-orbit stations, commanders locked weapons away and ordered ceasefires. Some races had already suspected the rot. Others had lived under it for too long. The scythe vanished, fleeing an invisible craft, burning their trails. And as the stars recalibrated, a single understanding dawned across the species of the Milky Way. Humanity had survived not just by fire, but by truth, and truth, it seemed, fractured empires more cleanly than any weapon ever forged. The dreadnought was dying. Fire bloomed in every corridor, bulkheads warping from internal ruptures. Artificial gravity spasmed. Smoke coiled like strangling vines. Vera Holt pressed forward through the ruin. Her armor hissed and cracked, its plating scorched by plasma near misses. Behind her, her team held the breach alone. She marched toward the bridge. Zeruth waited, the high strategist of the KVK. Council's war arm stood tall, even as the deck heaved beneath him. His eyes, pale, slit-pupiled, tracked her with both contempt and curiosity. "You fight like a cornered beast," he spat. "You clung to a savage world, and now you think you are more than its hunger." Vera didn't slow. Her rail blade extended with a click, humming. "You brought fire to our cradle," she said, voice low, and called it light. Then the storm broke. They clashed blade against claw, steel against muscle. The chamber shook. Sparks flew. He struck like a war god, relentless and precise. But she moved with fury honed into clarity. Every wound she'd ever carried, every name lost in silence, sharpened her edge. Zeruth roared, lashing her into a control console. Metal crumpled behind her, ribs cracked, but she rose. Because this wasn't vengeance. This was the end of a lie. She drove her blade through his guard, into his chest, not deep enough to kill. He staggered, stunned. And Vera's voice cut colder than steel. "This is where it ends." Flames licked through the ruined chamber. The dreadnought's final alarms shrieked across every frequency, a requiem for power built on lies. Zeruth knelt, coughing black blood. His chestplate cracked open like a shattered crown. His claws trembled, not from pain but from disbelief. "You show mercy?" Vera stood over him, bloodied and steady. Her blade hovered just above his throat. "Mercy," she echoed, "is not weakness. It's memory of what we've endured, of what we won't become." He spat toward her boots. "Your people are fire and ruin." She leaned in, her voice a whisper the whole galaxy would hear. "We don't burn the galaxy to win," she said, activating the ship's wideband transmitter. "We light the way through it." With a tap to her gauntlet, every remaining council channel flared open. Across thousands of systems, a single feed emerged. Zeruth, defeated, kneeling, alive, silent. That silence thundered louder than any scream. It said they were wrong. It said Earth had every reason to destroy him, and chose not to. In that final moment, Vera didn't look like a soldier. She looked like a mirror held to a galaxy that had forgotten what honor looked like. As the ship groaned its death around them, she offered a hand. Zeruth didn't take it, but neither did he resist as she activated the emergency evac beacon and vanished in a pulse of light. Behind them, the dreadnought finally collapsed, consumed in a slow implosion, a tomb for a war that never should have started. And above dozens of planets, broadcast towers pulsed once more. Earth had won. Not by domination, by blood, but by becoming the light it had once been denied. The war ended not with a detonation, but with breath drawn in disbelief, released in reckoning. Across former council worlds, broadcasts echoed in every tongue. Zeruth's silence played again and again, his kneeling figure framed by flame, defeated not by destruction, but by restraint. The old order had no language for that kind of power. So it crumbled. Within, Days, the Interstellar Council dissolved itself in an emergency session. What remained was silence, then slow movement, first in whispers, then in action. On Varellan Prime, once a loyalist world, people tore down statues of their war ministers and raised human-built medical tents in their place. Earth's aid ships, small, efficient, humble, touched down amid ash. No flags, no soldiers, just help. On the moon hive of Kreshelveche, children who had only known refugee corridors now ran laughing through hastily constructed learning domes, languages interwoven. Teachers sent from Earth's global unity cores. Translations bloomed like wildflowers. A Scythe symbol was burned in effigy there by both humans and Kressley alike, and on the fractured remnants of the council capital, 10 former adversaries met without titles or weapons. They drafted the first framework, not a government, but a promise, shared voice, open skies, and no permanent thrones. Earth was asked to chair the founding session. It declined. Instead, Earth sent books, engineers, musicians, farmers. People. Vera Holt watched it unfold from a quiet observation tower on Luna, her armor packed away, her old wounds aching less. Across the stars, the world was changing, not into Earth, but into something Earth had once hoped to be. A ruined planet restored. A new alien anthem, with verses in English, Drellic, and Siouan. Trade lines re-established, not with tariffs, but with trust. This wasn't peace. Not yet, but it was the shape of it. In Earth, once voiceless, now whispered something louder than conquest. It listened, and was heard. The war was over. But peace had not yet reached this hill. Vera Holt stood alone beneath a slate-gray sky, boots sinking slightly into the softened earth. The breeze carried the scent of rain and loam and the hum of distant lifebirds. Wind turbines, a world in slow recovery. The headstone was simple, no rank, no accolades. Just a name, Leah Holt. She believed the fire could be light. Vera knelt and set the sapling gently in the ground beside the grave. An ash tree native, resilient, chosen not for symbolism but survival. Still, it felt right. She brushed dirt over the roots with unarmored hands. The silence lingered, warm and painful. Then the memories came, not the screams or smoke of Kelter Prime, but the last night before deployment. Leah had sat on their apartment. Roof, legs dangling over the edge, eyes bright with stars and foolish. Beautiful hope. Promise me you'll build, not burn, she had said. Vera hadn't answered. She hadn't known how. Now she did. She pressed her forehead against the stone. The tears came quietly, at first. Then all at once, years of restraint crumbling. No one watching, no orders to follow. Just grief, finally unburied. I kept us alive, she whispered, voice raw. But I'm sorry it took so much fire. The tree stood still, fragile against the wind, but it would grow. She would see to that. She stayed there a long time. When she rose, her hands were stained with earth, her eyes swollen. But her back was straight, her breath steady. She touched the young trunk once, gently, and turned away, not from the past, but toward what lay beyond it. Behind her, the ash tree caught the first drops of rain. It would take root. It would reach for the sky. And beneath it, a warrior's promise would finally be kept. The stars beyond the conference. Windows were calm for once. Earth's orbital diplomatic station shimmered with sleek lines and cautious optimism. Flags from dozens of species lined the walls, some still scorched from war, others freshly sewn. It wasn't unity yet, but it was motion. Vera Holt entered the chamber in civilian black, her armor long since retired. Her stride was steady, no longer burdened by battle, only by responsibility. The chair at the envoy's table bore her nameplate. She sat without ceremony. Across the room, her former squadmate stood tall in a crisp Earth defense uniform. Reyes, now Commander Reyes, the idealist, had grown into a leader, not despite his doubts, but because of them. He caught her eye and nodded. Vera nodded back. Old fire, new purpose. An alien delegate, voice filtered through a translator weave, posed the question they all danced around. Will Earth dominate us now? Or join us? Vera leaned into the mic, voice clear. We didn't fight to rule. We fought to be heard. She paused, letting the silence lean in. We fought to earn a seat. Now we build the table. Soft murmurs echoed around the chamber. Not resistance, not applause. Something better, consideration. Earth's first offer was laid out, select technologies shared. War doctrines retired, trade routes opened. Not as victors, as peers. On Earth's terms, Vera looked again at the stars. They no longer seemed cold. This was a new kind of fire, one that warmed instead of scorched. One they would tend together, or not at all. The new interstellar chamber thrummed with restrained tension. A young species, nervous, wide-eyed, stood before a dozen worlds ready to judge. History threatened to repeat. Vera Holt sat at Earth's place, her uniform now bearing no rank, only presence. The murmurs grew louder, familiar words forming: threat, containment, control. She raised her hand. Silence followed. Let them speak first, she said, her voice steady. We didn't last time. A pause, a shift. She leaned back, eyes drifting to the stars beyond the dome. Not in fear. In memory. Humanity had learned to endure. Now it had learned to listen.